Hi, it's Jared from Strong Roots Farm. Today I'm going to do another weekly farm update and then go over some of the planning and recording things that I'm using this year in my garden. So that's all coming up right after this.
Hi, I'm Jared McGinnis. Thanks for joining me and my family on this adventure, where over the next 2 years, we're going to show you how to change an average subdivision home into a local, sustainable food source for you and your family. From market gardening to orchards, greenhouses, and water catchment systems, it's all right here on Strong Roots Farm.
All right, to get started, I want to go over some of the things that I use to record. And so I think records are very important, especially when you're just starting, understanding seeds, understanding the productivity of the yields you're going to get, understanding if things are working, some of the tests that you're doing, if they're working or not. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk about an app that I'm using. It's called Gardenize. It's on my iPhone. I'm putting in rows there, so I labeled every bed that I have as a row. And then I have one row that is titled trays. And so when I seed something in the trays, I'm doing that. I'm not going to show you the app. I don't know if there's some copyright infringement there, but it's on my app store. You're welcome to go look at it. I don't know how it's going to work. It's the best one I could find, and it's the one I'm going to try this year. Any app I'm sure will help you if you can find something. And I don't know of a specific app that's set up by Johnny's or anybody else that's focused on home gardeners or market gardeners or homesteaders to help you with these things. Some of the things that I think are important that I'm going to record in this app. One is the dates. And so you can put in when you put it in trays, when it's seeded into the field or transplanted in the field, the yields that you receive off of it, and the times. There's some other things in there about the spacings, and there's a section for notes, which is what I'm putting in. So I'm putting in 4 rows, 2, 3 rows of drip irrigation, or whatever the row would have. If I did it in fabric, if I direct seeded, I'm putting in those notes so I can go back and look at that. It's also gonna help me for the planning next year as I go into crop rotations. Okay, I had onions here. We definitely don't want those there again. It's gonna help me keep record of all those things in my app. Lets me take pictures. One thing that's been very useful, because I'm very bad at labeling trays, because I'm doing things smaller than a typical market gardener, I will use one tray for a couple types of plants. So I'll have 4 different varieties of tomatoes in one flat. So I'll take a picture of that and I put the packages underneath the flat. I put seeded in the tray. I take a picture of it. So that way I know, hey, what is this growing at this end? Oh yeah, I planted 5 marigolds and it's right there in my app. I look at the picture, boom, it's right there. So that's what's been very useful for me. So the first thing I'm gonna recommend is try to find an app, or if you wanna try this Gardenize like I'm doing, see how it works for you. It does have a little bit of a social media aspect to it, but I'm using that to track. The next thing is I still had some old school methods of tracking. So here on the side of my fridge, so the camera is sitting on my packing station. To the right of me is my wash station. So I've got wash, pack, right into my fridge. But right here is my harvest spreadsheet. So I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see everything, but you can see it has the row that it came out of, the crop or whatever I'm growing there, the unit. So I'll talk to you about the unit. The unit is gonna be how I'm gonna determine a price. So with beans or corn, like a typical farmer, they're using bushels. Well, so for instance, it might be each if it's a tomato. It might be each if it's a zucchini, but it might be a package if it's strawberries. And so I'm gonna use this based off of my local grocery store. So if zucchinis are selling 2 for $1, I'm gonna put in each and then put prices 50 cents, and that'll let me calculate out how much money that bed produced. And so that's ultimately what I'm looking at. I'm turning everything into dollars instead of a yield number necessarily, because I wanna know how profitable is each bed, each section of 25 foot, and ultimately, is it profitable for me to grow it? So I can buy broccoli, or I can grow so many heads of broccoli per row. It's probably cheaper to let the big guy, mechanized ag guy, grow broccoli, in my opinion. Now, it's obviously if you're homesteading and you want to grow some for yourself, fine, but market gardening, it may not pay you. So that's the way I'm doing it. Obviously, there's a date in here. That'll just be the day, a quick date, and then across this top line will be those dates, and then I'll put how many of those units I harvested. So every week I'm harvesting zucchini. Every week I'm harvesting green beans. They'll go on this. When I fill out a sheet, then I'll start calculating up stuff. Or when I flip a bed, I'll go back and count each of those rows, and I'll be able to do a report on that for you as well as you watch and follow along with the channel. So I hope that helps as far as harvesting and how I'm gonna keep track of stuff. I don't have a new technique in the garden to show you this week, but I do have a good farm update. First off, the weather has been horrible. So it went from shorts and t-shirts, 60 to 65 every day, and only getting down to the high 40s at night, to now we're dropping back to freezing temperatures. It's down in the 40s today during the day. So I'm trying to keep stuff covered. But I do want to go through and go through each bed that I have out there, tell you what I've got planted. Most of the stuff, it's now April 21st. So most of the stuff that I have planted is cold hardy vegetables. The frost are not going to hurt them, but I do have a few zucchinis out there and things that the frost will hurt, and they are covered. So we'll go through that and I'll show you each bed. Just for a preemptive here, it is very windy today. All right, so I hope we caught a break in the wind here where I can video real quick. So first off, my propagation house is still going well. In there now I have peppers, tomatoes, some flowers, and then a tray full of herbs that are going to be transplanted out. All kind of stuff that I'm planning on putting in after May 1st, but it's all 2 inches tall. We're ready to go in. So things are going good in the house, but I did transplant and I have emptied 3 or 4 trays out to here. I also seeded today the first 2 rows, row 1 and row 2. So row 1 is a row of flowers for my wife. So there's pros and cons to this. One, it does take up a bed in my garden, but so that's kind of the negative thing, but it makes my wife happy. So that's really the only positive I have to have, but it does bring in pollinators. So that's the other reason I do like to have a bed of flowers in my garden, to bring in pollinators. So I have a wildflower mix, a pollinator mix that will bring in pollinators, and then I mix that with a butterfly mix. So my wife is a big butterfly person. She taught creatures of wings in science for 4th graders and 3rd graders. So she was really into that kind of stuff. And so I've mixed those mixed them in here. So we'll have some wildflower mix. We'll see that. Next, row number 2 is my second row of onions. So this I direct seeded with the Jane. I put them in pretty thick, so I used the X24 roller, I believe. And so you can see there's 4 rows. It does not have irrigation on it yet, mainly because I hand water the first couple days pretty heavily after I seed to get those set in. And then we're calling for rain for the next 5 days. So I'm just going to wait till after the rain to go ahead and put my drip on and just keep an eye on it. Next, row 3, I have the first succession of onions. These are not doing so well. They're not turning as green as I like. So I added some Neptune fish emulsion today to them to fertilize them a little bit organically. And I think it has to do with I just didn't have enough really good compost in there. I seeded them in. The compost was pretty rough. And I think there's too much wood chips in it. It's sucking out the nitrogen for those onions. So I used the fish emulsion. Hopefully that'll bring them around. It has been cold. It has been, swinging temperatures. That could have something to do with the stint of it. Next, I have my carrots. I got an inch and a half growth on all the carrots. They're coming up nicely. Sweet peas. So you can see I've got about 3-inch growth on sweet peas. So you can see how many sweet peas I have in my fabric here, how many holes I have. I direct seeded those right into the fabric. I've talked about this before. I only had 2 that did not come up. So I went back after they all sprouted. I let them get about 1 inch before I determined, okay, that seed is just not going to sprout, not going to germinate. So I went through and reseeded those 2 holes. Next, I have my salad mix. And remember, this one was really goofy. So I had spinach in the center, and then my different types of arugula and gourmet salad mixes outside coming up very nicely. Frost won't hurt. I've got greenhouse plastic just covering the bed of my green beans. This is my first row of green beans. I direct seeded them into the fabric, drip tape underneath, and then I covered them with this greenhouse plastic, mainly to keep them warm during these freezing nights. They are not up yet. They've been in the ground about 5 to 7 days, so we should see them very shortly. But basically, this clear plastic can lay flat on top of this for a good 10 days, if not 15 days. Once I start checking them and start seeing the green bean coming up, I have to either put an arch on it or take this off. So these next 2 rows are in the hoops. I'll get down here and then we'll see what we got here. All right, this is kind of weird, but in this first one, I have all of my greens basically. So I have the kales, which you can see right here. So you can see how high they're up. This is pretty small to be transplanting, but I needed the space in the propagation table or little greenhouse that I had there, and they're in here and they're good. You can see how bad the wind is blowing. So we've got the kales, then I got Swiss chard, and then some, at the other end, I planted head lettuces. So I've got Salad Nova that I transplanted. I had about 12 holes left. I went ahead and direct seeded in the head lettuces at the other end of this. So same situation here under this little hoop. I've got my cabbages first, some red cabbage, And then at the other end, I don't know how well you can see it there, but I've got zucchini. So the zucchini were very big. Mainly I needed to get them out of the trays, so they're all down through there. Now this spacing here, so this is something I want to talk to you about fabric and the way I think about this. So I've got a 10-inch spacing on my fabric here for cabbages. Actually, this is a 12-inch. So 12-inch spacing for my cabbages, which I'm happy with on the cabbages. But on zucchini, it's a little tight. So what I did was I went every other hole, and then I direct seeded in a head of lettuce there as well down at that end. And then so what'll happen is the zucchini grows and crouches in on the lettuce. It'll be harvested out of the way. Then the zucchini can continue to grow and have that spacing that it needs. So as well as gardening, I have been working on a few other projects, okay? So I got some landscaping done for my wife here in the front. We finally got the front of our house landscaped. And I've also got the deck just about finished in the back. I've ordered the cable. She wants this fancy cable railing. So I've been working on that in the back, and it just hasn't arrived. Amazon has slowed down my shipments, but that's coming. So typical stuff. I'm mowing, I'm keeping up with my daily life and doing landscaping, but the garden is still a priority. So if you're looking at gardening, you can still do this. There's no baseball, there's no sports here with the corona, so you've got time. This is a great time of year to put this in. Also wanted to mention, I've had some questions about my roof stout garden. I don't know how this is gonna go. So this is the first time I've ever done it where you put the hay down and I let it rot. When I peeled it up, there were worms everywhere. So I was very happy with that. But I've got some potatoes planted, but Johnny's has delayed my potatoes as well. Sorry, I wasn't coming out of the wind here. So Johnny's delayed my potatoes. I paid for them back in January or whatever with my typical order. They come May 1st typically, and that's when I seed or plant the potatoes. So I have planted potatoes that we had left over that sprouted. So I have 2 rows out there of our traditional potatoes, one red and one russet. But the stuff that I ordered from Johnny's, I've got a golden and a russet and some fingerlings coming, 5 pounds of each, and I have not received those yet. So when they come, I'll show you those, show you how we do that. But I've had some questions about how does the roof stout method work. I really don't know. I do know that I've seen people use it in the past and it's worked very effectively. But as far as here personally for me, brand new plot of land, never been a garden before, fertilization was low, as we did construction here on the home. We'll see how it works. So I believe it's gonna be well though, since I put the hay down in the fall. And when I lifted it up, it's black. There's a lot of rotting compost underneath there now because they've been eating the hay, and the worms were underneath there significantly. So I think you're gonna see good fertilization due to the worm castings there. So that is the potatoes as well. All right, there you have it. That's the weekly update here on YouTube. I wanted to go through everything for you. So make sure you comment down below. If there's something I'm not showing you that you have questions about, that you want to see how I'm doing, make sure it's down there, and I'll make sure to get those in one of these weekly updates. I do have some more infrastructure coming to show you how I install the sink, the bubbler. Hopefully I get the quick greens harvester in there, some of those tools that we can use. I'm also going to show you the other crops. I have a new plan for corn and green beans, mixing those in one row this year. I'll be showing you that, but you can still do this. It's April 21st. Most people don't start a garden anyways until May. You're not behind. If you want to get this done, get watching, click subscribe on YouTube, go back, watch the videos of what I've done, how I'm doing it. Don't be afraid to just go and buy plants. You do not have to buy all of this equipment that I'm using. I have it and I've used it for a while. Go buy plants at the store, start a small garden, just get started with it. Have some sustainability there at your house, grow. And then as we get towards the fall more and we start harvesting more, hopefully I'm gonna be able to show you some canning videos and how to store some of this product. And then you can use it all year long, get excited about it, and continue on with this. So I appreciate you watching. And if you need anything, let us know. We'll definitely get on that, and keep clicking and keep commenting to us. Thank you so much.
As always, thanks for watching. Tell your mama and them. Subscribe and comment to continue with us on this journey. And don't forget to check out Noah Smith at noahsmithmusic.com.